Okay. So today we will learn about the growth promoters. Of course, we are in the end of the chemotherapy is concerned, and of course, maybe in the next week we are going to enter the toxicology, which is the last component of the syllabus. So the growth promoters, of course, nowadays they are very commonly used in the cattle feed, poultry feed, etc. In poultry, they are used extensively. The example, the supplement of the injection to improve feed utilization and also the fast growth of the farm animals. These growth promoters are very commonly used in case of the food producing animals, especially the animals which are reared for the meat purpose. So the purpose of the growth promoters is to increase the growth rates and to improve overall efficacy and also the product quality. Especially the most extensively used growth promoters are the number one, feed additives, the two is anabolic implants, and both estrogenic and androgenic, and also the bovine somatotropin. Of course, it is not available in India, RBST, recombinant bovine somatotropin. Then pre-partitioning agents like the beta agonists and few of the antibiotics are also used as the probiotics. Some of the healthy microorganisms, means non-pathogenic microorganisms like the lactobacillus, acidophilus, etc., they are used as the probiotics. So all the non-nutrient feed additives such as the antibiotics and the exogenous enzymes, they improve. So they are going to improve the growth and also the food conversions efficiency. Food conversions property means the same food which is undigested and is going to out of the feces through feces is used. And these conditions favor the selection of the spread of antibiotic resistant bacteria. So this is the main threat, especially the use of the antimicrobial drugs in small quantity. So it's going to kill the unwanted bacteria. But the thing is, the animals become very resistant to the diseases. So the lot of debates are going on a global level. A recent joint workshop was held involving the WHO, FAO, and the United Nations, very organization bodies of the World Organization for Animal Health and Non-Virulent Antimicrobial Usage. So they have discussed these issues, whether to use the growth promoters or not, etc. So the recommendations, this is the recent article, especially the WHO. This article is taken from the World Health Organization global principles for the contaminant of antimicrobial resistance in the animals intended for the food animals, food practices. So coming to the introduction about this growth hormones. So these are the substances already known that they are added to the feeds as the supplement, or they are also given as the injection, or they are added in the feed for the improved utilization of the feed and feed conversion efficiency, especially in the farm animals. So the growth promoters are very commonly used in cattle and the poultry, very commonly used in these two animals. All the growth promoters which are used in the cattle are also sometimes used in the poultry feed. And the most extensively applied growth promoters are the hormonal anabolic implants. So nowadays, a lot of controversies are there. The hormones should not be used in the food producing animals and they are dangerous. Yes, of course. And also the bovine somatotropin, it's called as the BST or RBST, recombinant bovine somatotropin. So then some of the repartitious agents are also used. All these are very commonly. Then the many studies they have conducted to evaluate the effect of the growth promoters on the performance and the carcass characters of the meat animals. And the endogenous hormonal metabolites are also used. So the RBST, they are very well studied that this recombinant bovine somatotropin, they are going to improve feed conversion efficiency and the growth rate by reducing the fat deposition in the body of the cattle. So this fat, especially in the body, is nothing to do with the animals. So they will be converted into the protein. And I know for such as the monensin could improve the energetic efficiency in the cattle, and also the lysocellin affect microbial metabolism of the ruminal microflora. So it increases the capacity of the ruminal microflora to convert the starch into the proteins. And the steroids, the anabolic steroids, they are the one which make the animal to gain weight significantly. That's also the, and they will retain the nitrogens which is excreted out of the body and increase the digestibility of the feed. The thing is, many of these compounds are not gained widespread consumer acceptability, and the growth promoting hormones are banned by European Union. So they have warned the users, yes, not to use any hormones for the purpose of increasing the growth of the animals. Whereas still in certain countries they are used. So earlier they were used very extensively. Then there is called as the black market of hormone cocktails, introducing potentially dangerous synthetic steroids and the corticosteroids. So the objective of this particular review or the study is to study to study the pharmacological importance of the growth promoters and importance of these growth promoters in cattle production, because we are concerned mainly with cattle production, and also the public health impact of the growth promoters, and to review the policies. What are all the policies of government of India and different countries? So the growth promoters, as usual, there is nothing much to discuss. They are increased for the growth. And here we are going to use these agents and targeting to improve the genetic potentiality and also the nutrition. So these are the two more important factors affecting the animal productivity. And so especially the food animals or the meat animals, they produce the large amount of the protein that is converted into muscle deposition. So if you want, especially in case of the poultry and also the pig and sheep, goat, etc., we want more and more muscle proteins, because it is the food of the animals, the human beings. And protein formation can be estimated by the comparing the amount of nitrogen fed to the amount of nitrogen in the animal's waste, so that more and more nitrogen is retained in the body and it is getting converted to the proteins. So the types of the growth promoters are like this. The number one, the cattle growth promoters. We are focusing more on the cattle growth promoters. So they are divided into 5 groups as the feed additives, hormones, implants, etc. And the characteristic of each are discussed in the following sections. So feed additives. Number one, the growth promoters are the feed additives. So it is a substance added to the feed to fulfill the specific need of the animal. And the additive may provide the nutrient or to increase the nutritional performance and also the resistance of the diseases. And many feed additives are available as antibiotics, then the organic acids, and also the exogenous substances. And these compounds will be added for the milking especially, so we cannot avoid the resistant, and also for the fattening diet of the farm animals to improve the growth performance and many more. So the number one is the antibiotics. They are used as the feed additives and develop their activity in the digestive tract of the animals by suppressing the unwanted or undesired competitive microorganisms that utilize the nutrients. So the antibiotics are very specifically used as a feed supplements to suppress the growth of the unwanted or competitive microorganisms for the animal food, and to reduce the undesirable or the toxic substances. So this will result in optimal environment for the intestinal mucosa and allows the efficient nutrient absorption. So the nutrient utilization, feed conversion, and the growth, so they will be increased. So the two scientists, Chen and Russell, they indicated that growing animals will get maximum benefits from the antibiotic growth promoters. So this is a very common practice, the antibiotic growth promoters. So they are having low resistance capacity at authorized use levels. Indiscriminately, these should not be used. The agents are the monensin, the flavomycin, and virginia-mycin. So these are the three important drugs used in case of cattle feed as growth promoters, as food additives. So what is the advantage of monensin? So it's an ionophore group of the antibiotics that are used only in case of the agriculture, and no equivalent products used in case of human medicine. But to some extent, this is also used in the veterinary practice, for especially used as the growth promoter. The mechanism how the monensin acts as the growth promoter is, it facilitates the carriage of the sodium ions. It facilitates the carriage of the sodium ions into the cell of the animal. That's how it is going to be acted as the then the monensin, it is going to increase the carriage of the sodium ions into the cell to speed up the sodium potassium pump in the cell membrane, leading to ion imbalance. Then as the transport mechanism requires energy, especially the sodium potassium imbalance, the adenosine triphosphate continuous exposure of monensin could lead to cell to exhaust the energy supply, resulting in the death of some osmotic disruption. But more usually it prevents the bacteria from competing in a mixed population, especially in their number declines. So the fast growing bacteria in the intestine, these are the fast growing bacteria, will be more of them are pathogenic. So this monensin will compete with them and arrest the growth of these bacteria and cause the development of the other wanted bacteria. And in case of ruminants, because it's a rumen is a very big fermentative vat, then this converts carbohydrate into VFAs, volatile fatty acids, such as, you know, what are all those things, acetyl butyric and propionic acids that derive the animal's metabolites. Then the key to the efficiency of the production of the volatile fatty acids is the preservation of 6-carbon from final fermentation, and a hexose sugar is formed at the glucose. And the propionic acid is the only volatile fatty acid that complete retention of the 6-carbon molecules in the fermentation products. So the monensin affects gram-positive bacteria and produce acetic and butyric acid, and also creates suitable environment for the propionate producing bacteria in the rumen. So the growth promoters will enhance this process. The growth promoters are pronounced effect on the intestine, like this flavomycin and virginia-mycin, and both of them inhibit the growth of the harmful gut microflora. Especially, we do also have the harmful gut microflora, and these microflora will compete for the food. And if their growth is reduced, then all the toxic materials which are produced by them and the reduced bacterial destruction is also and also the nutrient absorption will be increased. That's why these are used. And organic acids are widely used to improve the cattle promotion performance through reducing the pH of the feeds and digest and creating negative conditions. So the combination of the organic acids of the essential oils obtained from the herbal extracts had a synergistic effect on control of the most of the bacterial growth, including Salmonella, E. coli. Then all these are the natural habitats many times, like the pigs, cattle, poultry, etc. So they are becoming the invaders, especially the Salmonella, E. coli, Enterococcus, staph, and the Clostridium. The Clostridium is also the natural habitat of the intestine, and many times, whenever there is an adverse condition, it is going to grow and produce a lot of toxins. And these toxins are going to be absorbed into the circulation and cause the metabolic disturbance to the animals. Whereas the exogenous enzymes are widely used in cattle diets under wide range of the feeding strategies. The enzyme which is used as a growth promoter is the amylases, and this improves the digestibility of the starch, and hence more and more energy is given. Then the sensitivity of the rumen bacteria to monensin is listed on this table, and their related products after fermentation is written here. Whenever we are going to add the monensin as a feed supplement, then the sensitivity of different rumen bacteria to monensin and their related products of the fermentation are listed here. So on the left side, we can see the rumen bacteria, and the right side it is the fermentation product. Number one is the monensin. Sensitive microorganisms are there. Like this is a very big list. That's the Ruminococcus, then Methanobacterium, then Lactobacillus. Then the Lactobacillus is one of the natural habitat of the intestine of human being also. Then Methanosarcina, which is producing the methane, especially in case of the ruminants. Whereas the Streptococcus is also another microorganism, and so this is going to produce the Streptococcus lactic acid. Fermentation products of these microorganisms is the lactic acid. And Methanosarcina, this methane, then monensin insensitive microorganisms are the Cellomonas. So it is going to produce the propionic acid, then bacteria, acetic acid, then propionic acid. So the Veillonella is going to produce the propionic acid. So the thing is, these are the required microorganisms which are present in the normal ruminal fermentation products. So they are going to produce so many the end products and the metabolites. And if the other competing microorganisms are going to be killed, then the efficacy of these microorganisms is going to increase. Here some of the physiological, nutritional, and metabolic effects of feed additives in the growth promoter is listed. Number one is the gut food transmission is decreased. That means more and more the nutrients are absorbed into the circulation, whereas the gut food transit time, gut wall diameter is also decreased. If it is more and more gut wall diameter, then the absorptive surface will be decreased, and gut wall height is also decreased. Fecal moisture is going to be reduced so that more and more water is available for absorption. Then mucosal cell regress and the stress pattern is also decreased. And the gut absorption opacity and food intake, because of all the above factor, it is going to increase. Whereas the nutritional effects, all these are increased: nitrogen retention, energy retention, then amino acid supply, vitamin absorption is increased, then trace mineral absorption or element, and fatty acid absorption, glucose, calcium, plasma nutrients, which is decreased, whereas the gut energy loss. So for the energy which is required for the peristalsis and other activities, it is going to be reduced. Whereas the metabolic effects are the decreased amino production, and toxemic amine production is decreased. Then alpha toxins, which are the common toxins produced by some of the microorganisms, it is decreased. Then fatty acid oxidation is also decreased. Then fecal fat excretion is decreased. Then gut alkaline phosphatase, it is increased. So these are the effects in the molecular level of these growth promoters. Usually, whatever may be the effects of the efficacy of performance is very similar to that of the 6 to 8% improvement. So that is the maximum improvement, whatever you place as a growth promoter, 6 to 8% is a very good percent improvement in the food conversion efficiency is seen. And some of the physiological nutrients we can see, especially in the table 2. Then coming to the hormonal implants, these are the growth promoters very commonly used in the beef cattle. So not the food producing cattle like the milking cattle, but these the growth promoters are used, hormonal growth promoters are used in the beef producing cattle only. So of course, in case of our country, there is no differentiation between the beef industry or the milking industry. The most of the cattle are used as the beef animals after the lactation is over, and there is no specific purpose, and we have got the cattle slaughter banning act, etc. Hence we cannot expect that the persons should grow the cattle for beef purpose. And whatever may be the thing, the after this the cattle slaughter act in many this thing states like the Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, it is there, and it has hampered the production or the export efficiency of the food. So the beef is one of the most cheapest source of the proteins, and hormonal implants may enhance the growth during suckling up of the animal, then growing and finishing stages of the meat production. So how they are used? They are implanted under the skin, usually behind the ear of the animal, in the form of the depot capsules. So they are release a specific dose of the hormones over a fixed time of the period. So they will be in the touch with the capillaries, and a small quantity of the hormone is being secreted into the bloodstream, and they act accordingly. So they act as the anabolic type. These include the hormonal growth implants, or includes the natural hormones, especially the estradiol, the testosterone, then also the progesterone, and synthetic implants. Then trenbolone acetate and the zearalenol. So these are the drugs used, especially the natural hormones like the sex steroids like the estradiol, testosterone, and the progesterone are used very commonly as the hormonal growth factors, and also especially the synthetic ones like the anabolic steroids like trenbolone acetate and zearalenol. This estradiol, how it's going to act as the growth promoter is, it is having the responsible for the female sex characters, and also the estrus-inducing nature. And the testosterone has the androgenic action, and it is responsible for the secondary sexual characteristics in case of the male. And progesterone is having gestagenic action, means maintenance of the pregnancy. The other two hormones which are used commonly are the trenbolone acetate, mimics the action of the testosterone, and zearalenol mimics the estrogen. That means they are respectively male and female hormones. So the estradiol promoted growth by stimulating the appetite and improving food conversions efficiency. That's the FCE. Then the testosterone or the progesterone propionate, alone in combination with the other hormonally active substances, they are used primarily to improve the rate of weight gain, especially in case of the food producing animals. Then it is well established that progesterone not only serves as the precursor of all the three major hormones. So the basic structure is same, progesterone, whereas it is also a precursor of the androgens, then the estrogens, and the corticosteroids. So the gonads and adrenals, but also it converts into the more metabolites by many of the tissues, especially in the body, to improve the growth rate of the animal. Whereas the synthetic product trenbolone, TBA, is the short form. It's a synthetic steroid with an anabolic potency that may exceed that of the testosterone. And it is a prodrug, especially the trenbolone acetate converts into its active 17p trenbolone, which isomerizes into 17p trenbolone. So these are all used as the major form of the growth promoters, and they are going to increase the muscle tissue, whereas the 17 epimer is the major metabolite that is occurring in the liver, and especially as an excreta in the bile. This is trenbolone is going to exert the anabolic action via the interaction with androgen and glucocorticoid receptors. So the androgen receptors is going to cause the anabolic effect, whereas the zearalenol is derived from the naturally occurring mycoestrogen zearalenol. Of course, it's a toxin. Zearalenol is a mycotoxin. It is derived from the mycoestrogen, and it is potent estrogenic receptor agonist in the in vivo and in vitro both. So zearalenol is basically the mycotoxin secreted from varieties of the fungus. So it is its action is resembling to that of the estradiol and is used alone or with combination with the TBA or trenbolone as a hormonal growth promoters in the different feeds. The use of these synthetic steroids or anabolic steroids is having a lot of controversy whether to use these agents or not. But in case of these economically viable these farms, they are all using this thing, and the environmental agencies, especially the person who involved in the environment, they are always against this particular method, which is against the nature. Whereas these growth hormones, among these growth hormones are the somatotrophins, means the soma means body, tropha means towards. They increase the weight gain by the increasing the metabolism and protein secretion action concurrent with the reduction of the fat deposit. And the BST, or nowadays it is recombinant BST, is a growth hormone, and very many companies are going to produce this drug as the growth promoter. And it is a, how it is derived, it is a bovine growth hormone and produced by the pituitary gland of the cow by collecting the pituitary from the cadavers. So this hormone is a protein-like insulin, not a steroid hormone. The growth hormones such as the sex steroids or the cortisols. So what happens if you during the lactation, especially in case of animals, RBST mobilizes body fat for the use of the energy and diverts feed energy towards the meal production, so rather than the tissue synthesis. So this hormone RBST is a definite hormone used for increasing the milk yield, especially in induced animal lactation induced animals. So in fact, this bovine somatotropin increases the efficiency of the milk by 10% to 15%. Of course, this is a greediness to inject this RBST and get milk. So in India, still date, the RBST is not official, it is permitted. So this is, even though the primary use of the RBST is for increasing the milk production and its effect on the beef cattle are increased growth rates, then improved feed conversion, and also the lean carcass production. And fat carcass, lean carcass should be reduced, and the feed, the excessive fat is burned, and it is converted into the milk. That's why we say. So the eating quality of the meat associated with reduced carcass fat is a reduced acceptability because of the lower scores of the tenderness. It becomes a little hard. That's what they. Then partitioning agent like the P agonists, beta agonists. So beta adrenergic agonists enhance both efficacy by stimulating beta adrenergic receptors. So here read the P as the beta. then they act as the repartitioning agents, and modify the carcass composition by lowering the fat deposition to the extent of the 40% and increase the muscle protein up to 40%. So this is a very significant contribution of the beta agonists. So one of the important contribution of the beta agonists. So the increased protein accretion or secretion is mediated by binding to the muscle this beta 1 and beta 2 type of the receptors. So these agents are going to promote the lipolysis, and they have a mechanism mediated by the other hormone. We have already learned about this thing in the autonomic and autocoid pharmacology, where in which the beta agonists are used very commonly, like the examples are the clenbuterol, phenytosterol, isoprenaline, then mebiterol, ractopamine, salbutamol, terbutaline, and zilobaterol. So these are the beta adrenergic agonistic drugs. So the is one of the new compound, especially the zilpaterol is a powerful beta agonist, but it is more effective than that of the ractopamine, but only about 1/10 effective of the clenbuterol. These have a lot of other side effects and the non-specific in action also. Then when these beta agonists are used as growth promoters, two major problems arise during the chronic exposure. Number one is the receptor downregulation. It's a fall up in the effect of overtime and the rebound efficacy. So downregulation means the number of the receptors will be reduced and the efficacy of the drug increases. And if the product is removed, leading to an increase in the fat deposition, suddenly the animals will become fat and a reduction in the muscle mass. So this is one of the side effects. And most effective use of these agents is finishing period before the slaughter, 1 or 2 months prior to the slaughter we have to use, or else the chronic use of these materials are not indicated. Then probiotics are mono or mixed culture microorganisms, and these induce the beneficial effect of on the host by improving the properties of the indigenous microflora. So these the natural microflora, they themselves will be supported with the probiotics. So the mechanism of action is many of the probiotics or the bacteria are more commonly reported as the probiotic than that of the fungi. So the major metabolites used are listed further, and the lactobacillus and bifidobacteria are the most important. Please remember this thing. The probiotics include the lactobacillus and bifidobacteria are most commonly reported growth promoters. So the other bacteria have been used are the Bacillus, Enterococcus, Streptococcus, Lactococcus, and many other are there. And these are commonly administered to animals orally, either through the feed or also through the drinking water. And recently the use of lactate utilizing bacterium, that's the Megaspora elsadonii, is a probiotic, has yielded interesting results in acid prevention and the performance or growth enhancement. Whereas the drenching Megaspora, that's the Megaspora elsadonii intraruminally, has been effective in increasing rumen pH and decreasing lactate concentrations during a rapid transition from forage to very high concentrated diet. Though this is required because before slaughtering, the animal should gain the maximum weight, and else they need to be converted to the feed conversion efficiency should be very drastically, it is need to be increased. So usually the growth of the inclusion of the probiotics in the beef cattle feed is the second method. Then this Megaspora elderni, this and the milk fat depression has been recently identified, and these are extremely useful agent in the future development in the application of the dairy industry, especially including the dairy diet. So the Megaspora elderni, it's a probiotic. It's the fact that strict anaerobics is required to maintain a viable culture. So this maintaining the anaerobic culture is a tough task in the laboratory, and the mode of action of these probiotics include the competitive exclusion of the pathogenic bacteria such as the E. coli and Salmonella. So both of these will be inhibited, and the immune modulation of the cattle producing the antibiotic substances, and also the decreased intestinal pH, and simultaneously synthesis of the B complex vitamins and providing digestive enzymes and increasing the production of the VFS. So these are the purposes why we are going to use the growth promoters. And the Lactobacillus acidophilus is one of the most commonly used bacteria for the growth promoter. You might have heard certain names like Enterogermina and many more, which are on the TV for the advertisers. Then some of the bacteriocins like the antibacterial peptides such as the niacin, lactobrevin, then acidophilin, then acidolin, then the lactobacillin and lactolin, lactocidin are the commonly produced the products. And these effect of this agent depend on combination of selected genera, their doses, especially interaction with bacteria, and some pharmaceutical feed composition, etc. So many terms and conditions, and the feed which is offered to the cattle is also important. So the microorganisms used as the growth promoters are the Lactobacillus. So many species are there. The Lactobacillus acidophilus, Casei, Rhamnosus, Ruteri, Plantarum, then the Fumentarium brevis, and so many families are there. Then the Lactococcus is also there, like Lactococcus lactis. Just remember that the Enterococcus, like Enterococcus faecium, and Streptococcus thermophilus, and the Bacillus subtilis, then Bacillus cereus, Toyati, Natto, Mesentericus, etc. So Bifidobacterium like Bacillus bifidum, then Bacillus pseudocolongum, and Bacillus breve, then Thermophilum. Whereas the Saccharomyces is also another microorganism that is used as a growth promoter. So Saccharomyces cerevisiae or cerevisiae. Then the virulent E. coli is also sometimes used, and we'll see why they are used. That the E. coli, especially, they will compete. If you administer exogenous E. coli, it will compete with the intestinal this pathogenic E. coli. Then among the E. coli only, many E. coli are non-pathogenic in nature. So they can be introduced as the growth promoters, and they will compete with the regular E. coli present in the intestine. And the importance why we need to use the growth promoters is overall we need to increase the efficacy and food productivity of the cattle, and grass feed beef cattle systems. The economic benefits are very much required. Then we can sell the cattle very early, and non-breeding cattle allow more breeders to run the same area from the earlier sale of all these things. If they grow very, very faster, so they can be sold very early. And in feedlots, the benefits of growth hormone is mainly from higher feed conversion efficiency and greater throughput as the animals reach target weight very quickly, so that the retention time in the cattle farm is very, very less, and this will be a very beneficial. This is very much concerned public health importance of the growth promoters, and we'll see why it is so much opposed, and what is the public health hazard of these substances. So these products, the human health care will be affected directly through the residues of the antibiotics, what are we are using, immunogen and many more, but also it causes the side effects or indirectly through the selection of antibiotic resistance. So that's one of the, especially the very resistant microorganisms will develop, and the drug illustrates both potential problems, especially is the chloramphenicol. And many scientists, they found that the chloramphenicol metabolites in the meat produced in linked the presence of these agent, especially in meat, with the occurrence of the aplastic anemia in case of humans. But of course, it is not proved how much quantity is secreted in the meat, etc. But it's a illegal thing. In many countries, even though it is not permitted, they are illegally using without the notice to the government. And the important reservoir non-typhoidal salmonella are the salmonella and campylobacter and some type of the E. coli, especially in case of the human beings. So these are going to evolve the new species of the bacteria, and which are emerging as the resistant microorganisms like the Salmonella E. coli. Especially the food growth promoters in the pig feed, it is one of the reservoir source of the methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, MRSA. Then these type of the microorganisms are going to increase to a greater extent, and ultimately it will end up in the development of the methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Then another disadvantage is the hormonal residues can adversely affect immune system and can lead to the increase in certain common cancers. So if you continuously use these drugs, then there is a chance that the colonic cancers will be produced. So the high levels of the hormones induced animals will suffer from a lot of the direct toxicities, and the IARC, International Agency for Research on Cancers, it is evident, it has conducted some survey that the currently sufficient evidence of the carcinogenicity of the estradiol and limited evidence for the testosterone, especially in case of the human beings. IARC, International Agency for Research of Cancer. So it is conducting some survey recurrently and finding. And experiments with some other compounds used in plants have shown that under certain conditions only, they cause adverse effects in experimental animals. So the progesterone increases the incidence of ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, mammary tumors, especially in case of the laboratory animals. That means the residue of the progesterone will definitely cause the side effects. Then the zeranol is used as the estrogen receptor dependent cell proliferation in mammary glands, which results in the human breast cancer, because very small quantity of the zeranol is enough, and it's also secreted through the milk. And the recent study that the estradiol 17 beta has a genotoxic potential. Then the Joint Expert Committee on the FAO scientists, it has pointed that there are no data demonstrating that concentration below no hormonal effect level. So please remember that no hormonal effect level cause adverse effects in the animals or the humans. So this is very, very important for us, because sometimes without any data also, many persons, they come on the TV and stage and say that a lot of hormones are misused in the cattle, and it is causing a lot of side effects. Whereas the study data by the international organization, it is no doubtably, it is demonstrated that estrogen 17 beta estradiol has genotoxic potential, whereas the joint committee, which is containing the scientists from different parts of the world, they have found that there is no data demonstrating the concentrations below the no hormonal effect level cause adverse effects in the the product consumed animals, because some carcasses traits have been changed by use of implants with lower dressing percentage, then also the reduction in the top grade carcass being the quoted. Then the use of the this beta agonists such as the ractopamine, so they have got certain effects of the cattle production, but the consumption of the animal products contain ractopamine residues have increased the toxicological potential of the human health and also cause the cardiovascular type of the diseases. And one need to see that characterization of such strain of microorganism that use the production of the probiotic must be on the base of guidelines like the topmost bodies like the FAO, WHO. But they considered the safety of probiotic products on the human health. That means if we use the products judiciously, nothing is going to happen. But if they are used then in excess, etc., then they will surely cause the side effects. So the improper use of the probiotic production results in the development of pathogenic microorganisms for both human and animal health. The FDA, WHO, American Diabetic Association, etc., and the National Institute of Health (NIH) have independently stated that the dairy products and meat from the bovine somatostatin treated cow are safe for the human consumption. See, even with this report also, the India is the one country which is having the ban on the production of the RBST. But the thing is, only the fear is in India, if it is produced, it may fall in the hands of the unqualified person and they may use this indiscriminately. That's why still this RBST is not produced. The American Cancer Society, it issues a report declaring that the evidence for potential harm to humans and from RBST milk is inconclusive, means there is no evidence that this is going to cause the cancer. When policies on the growth promoters, so this is also interesting to see this because we should know what is going on in the global level. Then there is a link between two and an epidemiological basis with the use of the growth promoters, and the report recommends precautionary grounds. The national governments adopt a proactive approach to reduce the need of the use of the drug resistance, and this whenever only necessary, then only they should be used. WHO suggests that the use of antimicrobial growth promoters are in the class also used in human are terminated for or rapidly passed out by the legislation if necessary, unless and until the risk assessments are carried out, and the risk assessment studies have not been carried out. This is a very big meeting held by the WHO, FAO, etc. Then they studied the non-human antimicrobial use of the growth promoters, and the resulting report is concluded that implementation of WHO global principles for the contaminant of antimicrobial resistance in the animals intended for food, it will definitely, it is warning. And these principles include the withdrawal from the food animal production, the many of the animal growth factors are in the class also used in treat human diseases unless until a risk assessment should be carried out. Then later, many countries they conducted the surveillance study. Then the establishment of the programs and assay programs, etc. Whereas the Denmark, which is one of the countries which produces a very high quantity of the milk, it banned the use of hormones for growth promotion in meat animals during the 1963. Whereas in case of European Union, they also banned in the 1977 after the discovery that number of young boys in Italy had begun to develop the breast cancer after consuming the milk of this thing. And the researchers suggested that the estrogen in poultry meat might have been related to the incidence. So ultimately, few of the products have been banned in the United States, Canada, etc. Then the estradiol use of the estradiol, progesterone, and synthetic hormones has acetate they are permitted to use the promote growth. Then currently, the only 5 hormones like the progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, estradiol beta, zearalenol, and these are all the improved, especially approved in case of cattle and the banned. And hormone implants are widely used in case of USA, Australia, and Canada. And of course, there is a FDA has approved 11 formulations implants 1956 to 1966, and few of these products are also made used in the veterinary practice. Whereas in 1986, Sweden banned all the use of antibiotics for the purpose of the growth promotions, and this is followed by many other countries also. Then this is followed by the other countries like the use of the release of, in the case of the 1993, they linked a emergence of the antibiotic resistant bacteria such as the vancomycin resistance Enterococcus faecium. So this is the administration of evaparacin as a growth promoter to food animals. And subsequent findings in Germany, like Denmark, confirmed the relationship between VREF and the use of the evaparacin. So the evaparacin has been banned, and the Denmark also banned the second growth hormone, that's the virginia-mycin. Then of course, many of the countries, in case of the US, then Mexico, Brazil, Philippines, and Korea, they banned the ractopamine. And ultimately, the conclusion of this entire study is different types of the growth promoters used in the cattle are the feed additives, then anabolic implants, growth promoters, then beta agonists or the beta adrenergic agonists, then also some of the probiotics. And they have different mechanism of action, but the last effect is improvement of cattle production in the way such as the increasing the feed conversion sufficiency, then average daily gain and carcass quality of the milk production of the animal. And there are the growth promoters, the importance of the cattle production. Of course, we cannot rule out the final consumer can be affected by the different adverse effects like the antibiotic drug resistance, then carcinogenic effects, and the potential pathogen growth. So because of this reason, the antimicrobial growth promoters that are also used for the human and generally the illegal use of the large variety of the growth promoters should be terminated or controlled unless and there is a risk assessment are carried out. So ultimately what all the countries say that without the assessment of the risk and analysis, they should not be used. And countries should develop policy on the use of different animal growth promoters so that the policy matter of the government. So the in case of the poultry also the same type of the debate is going on, but few of the antibiotics are being still they are used. And with that we will complete the growth promoters.